I'd like you to please welcome Agneta Wannerström. And Agneta is the Senior Manager for Carbon Neutrality at Skanska Sweden. So over to you. Tell us all about what's been going on.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. And who would have thought that this would be the place to be when you want to find innovative, climate-smart, new solutions? I think this might be something we will tell our grandchildren. I was part of the change. I actually did something. Also, the roadmaps for fossil-free competitiveness that the Swedish government has initiated are also unique from an international perspective. I was the project leader for the roadmap for carbon neutral roadmap for the construction and civil engineering sector. And when Fossil-Free Sweden, which is an initiative by the Swedish government, when they asked Skanska to lead the process of developing this roadmap, we actually said yes. Because we had realized a few years before that we needed our suppliers, our clients, and political decisions in order to reach our own carbon neutral goal. And it's been a really interesting process. So why roadmaps? Well, in Sweden, the government set a tough carbon goal to be carbon neutral by 2045, 5 years ahead of most of other countries. And as you see, Isabella Lövin is really has decided that we're going to realize this. This is going to happen. She is our Minister of Climate in Sweden. We also passed a Climate Act in this year. These are game changers. This will change how we do business and how we make profits. This will change how we design our society. This is a picture from where in April this year, when we presented the roadmaps from 9 different industries to the ministers in the government. The Fossil-Free Sweden is an initiative from the government, and this gathered the industries around a common carbon goal and to support the negotiations in Paris in 2015. And they have asked industries to make roadmaps to show how we will deliver on the Swedish carbon neutrality goal. And we are a roadmap from the construction industry. We took the whole value chain in the roadmap, in the process, to discuss with our suppliers, the construction companies, and the clients. Because that will really make things happen. If people do business together and they also talk carbon, they will actually find solutions. So the whole value chain was included. The other roadmaps were more into details, into the industry's most challenging carbon targets. But they also deliver to our roadmap. So what about our industry? As you can tell, the red line here is our emissions from buildings, and it has declined over the years. It was driven by law and also by market. For example, the green certifications for building. But as you can see, the emissions from the construction process has actually increased. We stand for 20% of Sweden's emissions. And how will the scenario be? Of course, we have to come down to zero carbon footprint. There is no reason why this sector would not contribute and be part of the change. And as many reports and studies over the last few years have realized, is that it is actually possible to cut emissions by half by 2030 by well-known technology. But to reach carbon neutrality, we all need innovations. And this in Vikan is a good example of innovative technology. In the process of the roadmap, we had a lot of seminars and workshops. And this is from the final seminar where we really discussed the roadmap. And it's nice to see that the people who were attending, they said collaboration is crucial if we're going to succeed with the roadmap and reach carbon neutrality. And also that they said that within 5 years, the carbon transition in society will affect their business. And I think this is why the process has been so positive, and the commitment to the roadmap for the construction and civil engineering sector has been such a good and strong. This is what the roadmap on the targets in the roadmap for the construction sector. We have agreed that we will reach carbon neutrality by 2045, and that we see it is possible to cut by half by 2030. But we will need to go and change our business from a linear resource use to a circular one, and we have to have new innovations. And we also have to scale up existing. We have a lot of pilot projects. We have to scale up and use the good things we do in a much larger scale. Key factors for the carbon transition: collaboration, leadership, and knowledge, of course. We all know that. We also see we need long-term laws and regulations to be able to invest in new technology. We also need to have circular processes and secure our bio-based resources. And we also see that public procurement can really play an important part to be the engine in this transition. The roadmap resulted in 26 recommendations of actions. 11 of them was directed to the parliament and government, for example, long-term laws and public procurement. We also had all key players, of course, for example, has to set own targets and action plans. The clients has to foster and promote smart solutions that are carbon neutral. And consultants and architects has to suggest good solutions in an early phase. We all know we have to really decide early what you want to achieve. And us, Skanska, as a contractor, we have to develop way of workings and solutions that can be scaled up. The roadmap has a description of the journey. It describes what will happen on the market and business, how it will be developed. It also describes how the construction phase will be developed and the use phase. This gives quite a good picture of how the industry and sector will develop. So what are the main messages for the infrastructure sector? We have to develop new business models and use incentives to make this happen. We have to redesign the way we used to design. We have to learn what drives carbon and use carbon footprints to learn about what drives it and how we can change it. As a client, you also have to have a life cycle perspective and ask for carbon neutral operations and maintenance. You have to develop carbon neutral materials and buy carbon neutral materials from your suppliers. And we have to use circular asphalt and be more resource efficient. Skanska can sell 80% recycled asphalt today, and it cuts emissions by 27%. That's another one really good example. And we can use digitalization to be more resource efficient, and of course electrification and sustainable fuels. Today there's around 70 key players that have signed the roadmap, and they actually represent the major part of the construction and civil engineering sector. We are about to change the market. But this is a piece of paper. We have to act now and do it make it happen as we are doing here in Viken. And if you haven't read this paper, this roadmap, please do, and think if you would like to be part of the process. It's about leadership. Be a driver for change to actually secure your future profits. And we have to act now, as we heard right before. We don't have time, and there are so many good advantages if we do not something. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm going to ask you a question. So, Agneta, am I right in thinking that this roadmap, industry-led, you delivered it to the government? That was it April time?
Yep.
What's been the reaction and what's happening now as a result?
Actually, there is a continuous process. And Skanska has given the roadmap to the Swedish Construction Federation, and they are now continuing the process. And actually, more organizations are signing it. We have started workshops to pinpoint which areas we should continue cooperating, and for example, procurement.
Great. Okay. So that's really encouraging. So you're optimistic?
Actually, I am very optimistic. I haven't been as optimistic ever before.
Good. Well, it's so important. So thank you very much. Please, thank you.